Welcome to another sermon from the Lewes Church of Christ. And now, here's Mark.
Have you ever been asked, or have you ever been told, you just don't get it, do you? You just don't get it. Have you ever had to be patient with somebody who they just don't get it? Sometimes I don't get it. Excuse me from the front row. Sometimes I just don't get it. Really, I just don't get it. And I'm sorry about this, but I just don't get it. Horses, to me, I just don't get it. Cats, I just don't get it. Tofu, I just don't get it. The headline news this week revealed that McDonald's is going to start serving kale. I just don't get it. Yeah, I'd like a Big Mac, a large Coke, and kale chips, please. Yeah, I just don't get it. Smart cars. I don't get it. I don't get it. To be honest with you, soccer. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I don't get it. I don't understand the rules. I don't get it. If the goal was is twice as long as it is, that would make sense. But I don't get it. Curling as an Olympic sport, I don't get it. I really don't get it. And driving down Route 1 with a dog on your lap, I don't get it. And pink, the color pink on a man, I don't get it. He was afraid to come in here, I think. I don't get it. Yeah, you know what's really frustrating sometimes, especially being a preacher, maybe in a ministry, one of the things that's most frustrating is church people that don't get it. If you think that a church is a building, you might not get it. If you think that you can go to church, you might not get it. If you think Christianity is a religion, you might not get it. If you think worship is for Sunday morning, you might not get it. If you think the church exists to serve you, you might not get it. But I'm glad you're here because I want you to get it. I really do. We're in this sermon series called Got You Covered. Got You Covered. In this series, we are looking at some of the prayers from the Apostle Paul that he is praying on behalf of the church that he loves. And he wants his people to know, he wants those people in those churches to know he's got them covered. In prayer, he's got them covered. Our text today is Colossians chapter 1. I want to start with verse 9, and we're going to look at another fantastic prayer of Paul for the church that he loves. Look at verse 9. It starts out this way. For this reason, since the day we heard about you, we have not stopped praying for you. We continually to ask God to fill you with the knowledge of His will through all the wisdom and understanding that the Spirit gives. We keep praying for you, continuously praying for you. He wants them to know He's got them covered. And Paul is praying for the people he loves. He's got them covered. We've learned in this series, haven't we, that a good preacher will have the church covered. And what we learned in this series is that every church member wants to know that his or her preacher is on his knees before the Father on their behalf. And you want to know your preacher got you covered. And you want to know that your preacher has some prayer prompts in place with the right request and the right attitude and all for you, right? Just to review where we've been the last couple weeks. Got you covered. Got you covered. Look at these next few verses. In fact, can you go back one screen? I want to get to the bottom of that. So that you will be filled with the knowledge of his will through wisdom and understanding that the Spirit gives. Look at these next few verses. So that you may live a life worthy of the Lord and please him in every way, bearing fruit in every good work, growing in the knowledge of God, being strengthened with all power according to his glorious might, so that you may have great endurance and patience, and giving joyful thanks to the Father who qualified you to share in the inheritance of his holy people in the kingdom of light. For he rescued us from the dominion of darkness and brought us into the kingdom of the Son he loves, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sin. Isn't that a great paragraph? Let's linger in this paragraph for a moment. And as you look again at this paragraph, would you pinpoint a couple of grace gifts that the Lord doesn't want us to miss? Some grace gifts that he wants us to get. In fact, right where you sit, just shout out a grace gift that you spot that the Lord wants us to get. Somebody. Endurance. Patience. Strength. Humility. Some great grace gifts in here. Knowledge of God's will, forgiveness, being joyful, redemption. There are some great gifts, grace gifts that the Lord does not want us to miss. He wants us to get these gifts. And I love those reminders. In fact, when you look at it and you walk through the whole text, you're going to realize some of the grace gifts is that we could be full of the knowledge of God's will. That's an incredible gift. And that we could be full of wisdom and understanding from the Spirit. That's a great gift. And that we can be full of power from his glorious might. That's a great gift. And that we can know that he qualified us to share in his inheritance. That's a great gift, right? And that we can know we've been rescued from the darkness and we've been brought into the kingdom of Jesus, and that we have redemption and we have total forgiveness. Aren't those great grace gifts? And he wants us to get it. And I love those reminders. In fact, this morning, I hope you received that as a reminder. I love those reminders. But can I suggest that I'm not sure those reminders is the real point that Paul wants to make today. In fact, from this paragraph, from this passage, can I suggest that what Paul is revealing, there are two signs that you really get it. Because you don't want the Lord to ever say to you, you just don't get it, do you? Two signs, two indicators that you get it. Two indicators that you really get and understand and grasp this grace thing. Two signs that you really get it. The first sign is revealed in verse 12, and verse 12 simply says this: giving joyful thanks to the Father. The first sign that you really get this grace thing is that you are giving joyful thanks to the Father, overflowing with thanks to the Father. The first sign that you really get it is that you are overflowing with thanks for it. Now that makes sense, right? And think about it. If you really get it, if you really know that you have been filled with the knowledge of God's will, and you know that you are full of wisdom and understanding from the Holy Spirit, and you know that you have received power and energy from his glorious might, and that you understand and grasp that you've been qualified to receive his inheritance, and that you know you've been rescued from the darkness and brought into the kingdom of Jesus, and you know that you have total redemption and complete forgiveness, you are going to be overflowing with thankfulness, right? It only makes sense. But let me ask you, does that describe you? Does having a heart overflowing with thanksgiving, does that describe you? Does that honestly describe you? Yeah? Then I have a feeling you get it. Not so much these days? Then maybe you don't quite get it yet. Because the first sign, overflowing with thanksgiving. Well, what can we do? What can we do this week to increase our thanksgiving? What can we do to increase the G factor? I sometimes call it, gratitude factor, the G factor. What can we do? What can we do this week? What can we practice this week to increase our thanksgiving? Because if you really get it, you're going to be overflowing in thanksgiving. Can I suggest 3 practices? 3 practices every one of you can do this week, and I want you to do it this week. You've heard a couple of these before. The first one, can I encourage every one of you to schedule an appointment this week to have some therapy. I call this Thanksgiving therapy. Here's what I want. Every one of you can practice this week. Every one of us need Thanksgiving therapy. Thanksgiving therapy is when those were times in my life when I set aside a certain amount of time, 20, 30 minutes, and say to the Lord, the only thing I'm going to do in the next 20, 30 minutes is give thanks to you for the blessings in my life. Thanksgiving therapy. Now, some of you drive 20, 30 minutes to work. It's a perfect time to do this. Just get in the car, turn the radio off, and just say, Lord, for the next 20 minutes, till I get to work, the only thing I'm going to do is give you thanks for the blessings in my life. I'm not going to ask for anything. I'm not going to be distracted. I'm just going to roll out with all the thanksgiving that I'm thankful for. Thanksgiving, thanks therapy. Try it. It's a great practice. Just 20 minutes to work. Nothing but thanksgiving. It's therapy. Because the first sign that you really get it, you're overflowing with thanksgiving. How about this one? Try this one. I love this one. I call it the credit roll. The credit roll. You know at the end of the movie? At the end of the movie, what happens, right? The credits start coming up. That's usually the time I wake up and go to bed. But the credit roll, right? And the credits start coming up and just kind of acknowledging who did what to make this movie happen. What if you start practicing the credit roll? I tell you what, this is better. This is better than counting sheep, and this is way better than a pill. What if you put your head on the pillow at night, and then you just start reviewing your day and start giving credit and thanks to God for everything that happened in your day? The credit roll. Because if you really get it, you're going to be overflowing in thanksgiving. Now, I have to confess to you that when my head hits the pillow and I start the credit roll, I fall asleep pretty quick. But I can't think of a better place to fall asleep than thanking Jesus for, the events of the day, the credit roll. The third practice I think every one of you can do is what I call PYT. And no, Mr. Jackson is not pretty young thing. I call PYT in my mind just personal you thanks. Personal you thanks. I'm thinking about different ways how I can personally thank you. Personally give you thanks. And I think we ought to be better. Yeah, I want us giving major thanks, overflowing thanks to the Father, joyful thanks to the Father. But I think we need to even get better giving each other thanks. Thanking people for being such a blessing in our lives. Better at thanking people for their presence in our lives. You may be a boss who really is a blessing in your life, and maybe you ought to be more thankful for your boss. Maybe it's employees. Maybe you have some people that's working underneath you that just make your job easy and bless you through their hard work. Maybe you ought to be more thankful for your employees. Maybe it's a teacher working hard and so that you can get the math and the, maybe it's a coach. That would be nice, wouldn't it, Nick? Ryan? Maybe it's a mom that you need to give more thanksgiving to. Maybe it's a dad. Maybe it's your children. Let's just be better, just personal you thanks, thinking of ways and reasons why I need to thank them for their presence in my life. And tell them. Because if you really get it, you're overflowing with thanksgiving. I want to be known for having a heart of thanksgiving. I want to be known for he's always thankful. Because the first sign that you really get it, overflowing thanksgiving. This passage tells us there's two. There's two signs that you really get it. The first sign is this. If you really get it, you're going to be overflowing with thanksgiving for it. Makes sense, right? Amen? Overflowing. The second sign, if you really get it, more than anything, you want others to get it. That makes sense too, doesn't it? If you really get it, more than anything, you want others to get it. I mean, think about it. If you really get this grace thing, if you already know, you're full of knowledge of God's will, and you're full of wisdom and understanding that comes from the Spirit, and you know that you've experienced power from His glorious might, and you understand that you have been qualified to share in His inheritance, and you have been rescued from darkness, and you have been brought into the kingdom of Jesus, and you have been totally redeemed and completely forgiven. First, you're going to be overflowing with thanksgiving, but second, more than anything, you're going to want others to get it as well. The Apostle Paul, when he writes this text, he's in prison. He's in prison. And yet, and he's chained to a guard, and he's very limited in what he can do, but still, he's doing everything he possibly could do to make sure that others are getting it. And one of the most effective things he's doing is that he's praying for them continually to get it. I think you and I need to be better at praying other people get it. When you really get it and want other people to get it, Hebrews 12:15 is going to juice you. Look at this. Hebrews 12:15. See to it that no one misses the grace of God. See to it that no one falls short of the grace of God. That no one misses the grace of God. And if you really get it, that's what you're going to want for other people. You never want your spouse to miss it, right? You never want your children to miss the grace of God. You never want your grandchildren to miss the grace of God. You don't want your boss to miss it. You don't want your employees to miss it. You don't want your teammates to miss it, your classmates, your workmates. You want everyone around you to get it. Paul, he's in prison, very limited, but he's still doing everything he can to help people get it. And the number one thing he's doing? Praying that they get it. Can I remind you today, one of the most loving things you can do for somebody you love is to pray for them? One of the most caring things you can possibly do for someone you love is to pray for them. And I think we ought to increase our prayers for other people to get it. In fact, maybe one of the best things you could possibly do right now is to whip out your smartphone. Now, I get smartphones, I just don't get smart cars. Maybe the thing you need to do right now is whip out that smartphone, open a notes page, start a new notes page, and just says my personal prayer list. And you start naming people specifically that you're going to start praying that will come to understand the grace of Jesus. List them by name. If you don't get smartphones, that's cool. There is a little bookmark card in the pew right in front of you. Grab one of those, put prayer list at the top, and start naming right now some people that you need to be praying for every day that they're going to get it. Spiritually get it. More than anything, you want them having the grace of Jesus. Because here's the truth. If you really get it, two signs that you really get it. Number one, if you really get it, you're going to be overflowing with thanksgiving for it. And number two, if you really get it, you're going to get other people, your loved ones around you, to get it as well. True? That's exactly what Paul is doing and saying. And my friends, I hope you really get it.
This has been a presentation of the Lewes Church of Christ. We are located at 15183 Coastal Highway, Milton, Delaware, 3 miles north of Lewes on Highway 1. Our service times are 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. every Sunday morning.